The difference between GPT-3 and 4 is 100x scale up in compute. Not double, but 100x. And so as we sit here in 2024, with GPT-5 around the corner, let that sink in. So why should you listen to me? Like, why is Michelle, that runs a tax company, up here talking about AI? In a prior life, I was a venture capitalist investing in machine learning companies. In 2017, in 2018, I was attending machine learning research conferences, and I bring a lot of that to building Anrok today. And my goal is to give you some frameworks and identify 3 levers that you can use to run your business in an AI world. You don't need to be an AI company to thrive, but you do need an AI strategy. So let's return to this first observation. And this is the crux. Most people, including your competitors, are missing the true exponential nature and the acceleration that we're going to be seeing in AI. Another way to visualize this is in 2019, GPT-2 had an 80% accuracy, counting to 10. 1 year later, GPT-3 had an 80% accuracy, summing 3-digit numbers. And in 2023, GPT-4, that we're all very familiar with, crossed the California bar. That's pretty wild. It's hard to know what GPT-5 and GPT-6 will be like, but a main takeaway that I want you to walk away today with is to build for tomorrow's capabilities and not just what you see in front of you today. So how do you do that? I believe there are 3 things that you need to get right. The first is strategic positioning. Why should your business not only survive but thrive in an AI world? Second is operational rigor. How are you and your team using AI in your everyday to accelerate your work? And thirdly, how are you building product intuition such that you're building meaningful customer experiences rather than thin layers or wrappers around foundation models? So I'll get into each one today. The first one I'll spend some time on is strategic positioning, because this is the most important one to get right. And I'm going to peel back the curtains on how we talk about it at Anrok and include some of the fundraising narratives and images that we use to raise our Series B. And I think for many of you in the audience, this will be very useful for your own narrative. There'll be parallels given that we're all in SaaS. And so some quick context on Anrok, if you're not sure of what we do, that could be useful. We help software companies with sales tax and VAT compliance. So we connect to your billing and payment systems, monitor where you have invoices, figure out if you need to collect tax from customers, and add tax to every single invoice. And so this will connect to our narrative in a minute. So the first point, which is universal to everyone in this audience, is that the software market is even bigger than you think. In the past decade, we've been experiencing software eating the world. More and more of the analog world has become digital. And it's hard to imagine AI not accelerating that. When each of us have our own AI coding assistants, software productivity will only increase. But it's not enough to just say, hey, my TAM is going to increase. You also need a second point, which is how do you capture that TAM? And for Anrok, our belief is we're the unexpected infrastructure that every software company needs. And as I go through the Anrok Series B fundraising narrative, you can think about parallels of how you could apply the same framework to your business. So this image here is from the 1920s in the Great Depression, where sales tax began. It was introduced as a way to help local governments pad their budget deficits. And so very quickly, every retail purchase, every cup of coffee, every pair of shoes you buy, you as a consumer pay sales tax to the merchant on that sale, and the merchant remits the sales tax. It took a while for the government to catch up to the fact that a lot of the economy is now online and there's now e-commerce. It was not that long ago when Amazon started adding sales tax to their sales. Some of you might remember 2014, 2015, not every state had sales tax from an Amazon checkout perspective. And soon that has all changed, and we expect sales tax to be added on every sale. And so that brings us to 2018, 2019, where the government's finally caught up to the fact that a lot of the economy might be pure digital. And so in 2018, there was a Supreme Court case called South Dakota versus Wayfair that introduced this new concept of economic nexus. So you might never have a physical good or a warehouse or a remote employee in a state, but you're making revenue and transactions in that state. If this is news to you, don't panic. We're just over there around the corner. We can help you out. The point is that we at Anrok believe we're that unexpected infrastructure behind every transaction and helping every software company compliantly sell across borders. So my challenge to you is, what is your version of this? What is your strategic positioning in an AI world? The second thing to get right is operational rigor. If you're not using AI in your everyday, chances are your team is already at a disadvantage. The easiest thing to do is to sign up for one of these two leading providers. So this is OpenAI's ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude 3. And you can interact with the LLM via a chat interface. You don't need the API. And I'd encourage you to get the paid version because those tend to be the smartest models as well as different modalities in which you can interact with the model. This is so important to us at operating at Anrok, such that we've bought a paid license for every single employee at the company. And this is a screenshot of my homepage where you can see the types of questions that I've been asking Claude. So everything from budget forecasting advice to people management, coaching advice, and lastly, an example of how we've been asking Claude to give feedback on our webpage. So this is a screenshot of our marketing value props page. And Claude is able to see this image and provide feedback as if they were our persona. So we typically sell to the finance leader. And so prompting Claude in the right way is key to getting valuable feedback. Over a year ago, we wrote an internal AI strategy doc to teach our team how to best prompt Claude and get the most out of interacting with LLMs. If you're interested, we've put together a PDF that you can share with your teams on how you can better prompt LLMs and chat interfaces. So lots of tips in there. Don't hesitate, stop by the booth, and we can give you a PDF to share with your team. Finally, product intuition. This is one that people talk a lot about, but don't spend enough time synthesizing. If you really distill down LLMs to two things that it does well, one is content generation, and the second is data synthesis. And if you can, in your product, not only have one, but both, the more proprietary the content that you have, the more valuable the content that you can generate. And so think about where in your product you can incorporate these two features to ensure that you're building the most valuable products for your consumer. And so my hope that you take away from this is an updated model on how to think about AI progress. If you understand the exponential step function changes that we have experienced, maybe not each one of us, but the history of GPT-2, 3, and 4, and what we might experience, you might just be ahead of the competition. And so your competitive advantage is to build for tomorrow, not just today. Yesterday, some of you might have seen the GPT-4o launch. That was pretty magical. Things like that are happening all the time. And so the three ways that you can prepare your team is to get your strategic positioning right, introduce operational excellence, and get the team comfortable to build the best products possible. There truly has been no better time to build software, and I'm so excited to see what you all build. Thank you so much.